Okay, children, now we are in chapter number 12 called Theory of Income and Employment. Okay, so before we start with the discussion, you should know that the core issues of macroeconomics are determination of income, determination of output, and determination of employment. Okay, so uh, income, output, and employment are the basic issues of macroeconomics. However, there are other issues also, that is unemployment, poverty, okay, economic growth, development, GDP, other things are also there, okay, inflation, deflation, etc. But we will be discussing only income, output, and employment. Okay, as we already know that this macroeconomics is nothing but the Keynesian economics, or you can say the theory that was uh, proposed by Keynes. Okay, in his famous work, General Theory of Employment, Interest, and Money. Okay, so let us start with the discussion. Aggregate demand. Now, this aggregate demand is actually the sum total of the demands of household, firms, and government. Okay, so aggregate demand is the sum total of demand of households, firms, and government. And this expenditure, it can be expressed in terms of money value. Okay, so that is your aggregate demand. Now, aggregate supply. Now, aggregate supply is the total output of goods and services that is produced within an economy by the firms. Okay, so let us just try to understand that in this aggregate demand, okay, this aggregate demand includes both ex ante demand and ex post demand. Okay, so this ex ante, it means actually a type of a demand uh, which is before, okay, or you can say before that is only your desire. Okay, and uh, exposed is actually is your actual demand. Okay, so ex ante is your desired level of demand, and ex post demand is your actual level of demand. Let us say that if you intend if you intend to, okay, if you just wish to purchase uh, let's say uh, bike and a helmet, okay, together, so that was your ex ante demand. Okay, bike plus helmet, but you could only purchase bike, so that is your ex post demand. Okay, so it's very simple, the concept is very simple. Okay, and it should be remembered that the aggregate demand, okay, so this aggregate demand is actually your aggregate expenditure, because whenever you uh, demand for something, you are actually uh, realizing it in terms of monetary value, that is your expenditure. Okay, and this AD is equals to your Y, that is why it means income. Okay, so in macroeconomics, Y stands for income. Okay, remember that. And AD is actually aggregate demand. Okay, so this AE is not that important. Actually, we don't have to study about AE only, but I'm just writing out here to show that this aggregate demand is actually the expenditure. Okay, that can be expressed in terms of monetary value. Okay, so that is your aggregate demand. Okay, now this aggregate demand, it consists of these items. If you closely have a look at this particular formula, uh, that is your national income formula, expenditure method, okay, it is same. Okay, only GDCF is missing out here. Okay, so aggregate demand, it is actually your consumption expenditure by the uh, household. Okay, investment expenditure, that is by the firms, and government expenditure, that is by uh, government. Okay, and this net export is also included out here. Okay, so that is it, that is your aggregate demand. Now let us see uh, how this aggregate demand, okay, it determines the level of income. Okay, this aggregate demand and aggregate supply. So let us just take a two sector model. Okay, that is a closed economy. Okay, so only households and firms are there. Okay, and it should be remembered that aggregate demand is equals to your C plus I. C, that is consumption. Since we are only studying two factors out, sorry, two sectors out here, okay, household and firms. So we should only consider these two expenditures, consumption expenditure and investment expenditure. Okay, because to understand, okay, how this is functioning, okay, how the model it works in a macroeconomic level. Okay, so we have taken only two sectors. So that is your consumption expenditure, investment expenditure. So AD equals to C plus I. Okay, this is the one. And since AD is equals to Y, since AD is equals to Y, so we can write Y equals to C plus I. Okay, so remember this. Okay, now this is it. So you can go through this. Okay, and it should be remembered that income again. Now this chapter is a bit there is the involvement of mathematics. So please be careful with that part. So income, as we already know out here, that this y is equals to c plus I. So y is equals to c plus I, and this c plus I is one way of writing income. Okay, but there is another method, y is equals to c plus s. Okay, so which we will see it afterwards. Okay, now in this two sector model, okay, where there is only consumption expenditure and investment expenditure. Okay, so we will see the propensity to consume. Okay, so first we are only discussing this particular section. Okay, consumption. Okay, only from the perspective of household, consumption expenditure. Okay, investment expenditure is not included out here, but we will just understand the topic afterwards. Okay, but just let us focus in the consumption part. That is your C, consumption expenditure. Okay, so now what is consumption function? Just like in microeconomics, we have consumption function or your demand function or supply function, whatever you say. Okay, it exists in macroeconomics too. So what is consumption function, by the way, or demand function, whatever you say? It is actually the relationship between total consumption expenditure and the factors that determine it. So it is a relationship between the total consumption expenditure as well as the factors that determine it. So what can be the factors? The factors can be your income. Okay, so income can affect your level of consumption. Okay, the inflation, okay, deflation, okay, this taxation policies by the government, okay, then availability of the goods. So many factors can determine the level of consumption, this consumption expenditure. Okay, now what is APC? Now in case of this propensity to consume, we have two aspects out here. One is called APC, that is average propensity to consume, and the other one is called MPC, that is marginal propensity to consume. Okay, so this average proportion, this average propensity is very simple. Okay, total consumption by total income. That's it. That's how you calculate average propensity to consume, APC. Okay, and how to calculate MPC? Change in consumption due to change in income. Okay, so through this APC, we can only say that what part of, okay, what portion of income is actually devoted for the consumption purpose. Okay, through APC, we come to know this. Okay, what portion of income is actually being used for consumption purpose. Okay, that is 10%. Okay, that is 2 by 5. Okay, 2/5 or 3/5 or 4/5 of income is being devoted for consumption purpose. So that is the main use of APC. Okay, it will tell you what portion of income is being devoted for consumption purpose. Now MPC it will tell you the ratio of change in consumption to change in income. So because of change in income, okay, how much consumption can be affected. So it will show you that MPC. Okay, so that is your MPC. I have used the same table that is in the book, page number 203. You can refer the same out here. Okay, so APC and MPC, and we already came to know that from APC we come to know that what portion of money is actually devoted for consumption purpose. Okay, and MPC it will tell you that what is the change. Uh, excuse me. What is the change in consumption due to change in income? Okay, it will show you the ratio. Okay, so now you can see out here, previously it was 0 MPC, obviously it will be 0 in the beginning. Now from 0 to it will increase 0.8. Okay, but this number, it cannot be more than 1. Okay, remember that part. And same thing with APC as well, it cannot be more than 1. Okay, and you can see out here this APC. So APC previously it was C by Y, so it will be 9 by 10, so it will be 0.9. Okay, previously it was 0.9. Now with rise in income, now you can see out here, with rise in income, your consumption expenditure will also increase. Okay, but not as compared to the rise in income. Now income is being increased by 100 rupees, whereas your consumption is only increasing by 80 rupees. So still there is a positive side in case of Y. That is, Y is still in surplus, or it exceeds uh, consumption by 20 rupees. Okay, and if it will increase, okay, by, let us say, by 100, next let us say it will be 1200. Okay, then it will be increasing by 70, it can be 1050 rupees. So with rise in income, your consumption will also increase, but the increase in the consumption will not be equal to the increase in level of income. Okay, because as the income increases, a rational person will want to save some amount of money for the future purpose. Okay, so in this case you can see out here this saving is also being increased out here. Previously it was 100 saving, now the income has been increased by 100 rupees and consumption is increasing by 20 rupees, so that 20 rupees is being included out here in this saving. Okay, and the basic properties you can see from this part only, from this table only you can draw out the basic properties of consumption function or propensity to consume. There is a direct relationship between Y and AD, which means Y, income, and AD, that is your consumption. Okay, so there is a direct relationship between income and the aggregate demand or consumption. If income increases, consumption expenditure increases. If income decreases, consumption expenditure decreases. Okay, and as we already discussed that the increase in income is always greater than the increase in consumption, because you can see out here previously the income was 1000 and now the income is only 1100. So this consumption, previously it was 900, now it is 980. So consumption is also increasing by 80, but you can see out here there is a difference of 20 rupees. Income is increased by 100 rupees, whereas consumption is increased by 80 rupees. So there is a surplus of 20 rupees in case of income. It's the same thing, that is 0 more than consumption. I mean consumption is more than 0 but less than 1. Okay, because your consumption, it can never be 0. Okay, in macroeconomics, or you can say the Keynesian economics, it is the assumption that there can be no consumption. I mean, this consumption can never be zero. Okay, there will exist uh, a consumption that is called autonomous consumption. Okay, let me just show you out here what is autonomous consumption and induced consumption. So I have used the same technique that is being used in the book. I don't know the page number right now. You just go through the book, okay? Then you will come to see this section, okay? Autonomous as well as induced consumption. Now, autonomous consumption. This autonomous consumption is actually a type of a consumption which exists, okay, even if the income, I mean, the level of income is zero, okay? Even if the level of income is zero, there exists consumption. That consumption, it can be either by borrowing or by doing any means, but there exists some amount of consumption. There exists. Uh, for example, however, this is not the good example, okay, but let me just try to explain you, because technically it's not a correct example. You must have seen beggars, okay, or some people, okay, poor people who have no house, and they are being provided food, okay, uh, clothing materials, etc., by NGOs, okay. However, NGO is generating a fund from somewhere else. Let us just assume that that person, that poor person, okay, he has no job, he has no level of income, so income is zero, okay, but he is getting food items as well as the clothing materials, so he is able to consume some part of goods and services that is generated in an economy. So that is called your autonomous consumption, okay. Even if the level of income is zero, there exists some amount of consumption. If your income, let us say, is zero and you want to consume food, then you will go to the hotel or any place, then you will take food on credit, you will pay after some time. So in this case, income is zero, but still you are able to consume something, okay. So that is the basic thing about autonomous consumption, okay. So I hope you have understood this particular section. Now let us move on to this consumption function. Very simple, very simple. Only 2 or 3 things are out here, okay. Remember this where is that? Yeah, this x-axis, okay. So this x-axis, it shows you the income, okay, and this y-axis, it shows you the consumption expenditure, okay, and this red line is your uh, consumption curve, okay. It is your consumption curve, and this blue line you can see out here, this blue line, it actually refers to income, okay, and this blue line will be drawn exactly at 45 degree. Now why 45 degree? It is drawn at 45 degree just to make sure that at any point on income, okay, at any point on income, the income and the consumption, it can be equidistant, okay. If you want to go more in detail about this, please let me know. I will make another video for the explanation of this particular 45 degree, okay, thing in this graph, okay. But remember that this 45 degree is about the equidistant, okay. If you try by yourself, okay, if you want to plot anything out here, okay, on this oy or the income curve, okay, at any point there should be the equidistant, okay. So that is the basic logic. Now you can see out here in this particular graph only, this income, okay, this income curve, it originates from the origin, that is from zero, but the consumption curve, it doesn't start from zero. As I already said that when uh, the level of income is zero, but still there exists a certain amount of consumption. So consumption can never be zero, remember, because in an economy there exists autonomous consumption. So consumption can never be zero. Consumption can never be zero. Okay. But why it can be zero? So therefore, the consumption curve, it is starting above the origin. Okay. And you can see out here, this portion is your saving area and this is your savings portion. Okay, so we will discuss this when we reach the saving thing. So what are the observations? Okay, so the observation is very simple. This upward slope of consumption curve, it indicates that there is a positive relationship between Y and consumption. So as the consumption, sorry, as the income is increasing, consumption is also increasing. Okay, so this is the same thing. This the what do you say, the properties. Okay, and this slope of consumption curve is nothing but MPC. This red line, okay, the consumption curve is MPC. Very simple. Okay, so we will discuss this saving function in the next video.